How's it going, everybody? My name is Jared Perez. Today I'm with McDoom. He is a finance and a sales master. He posts on YouTube and Instagram. So right now I'm about to go ahead and jump straight into the questions. So the first thing I would like to ask, we both work together, of course. The main thing I want to say, you do help me with my finance. We had a lot of conversations about that. I do go back and forth with you in text. Plus, we always basically see each other every single day.
Yes, sir.
I know who you are. They don't know who you are. Can you explain a little bit about yourself, the background, what school you went to, and why you decided to do some finance and also help people with self-mastery?
So first and foremost, thank you for having me on your podcast, Jerry. Really appreciate this opportunity. I saw the first podcast with Evan. I really enjoyed that, so I wanted to be on this one, talk to you guys, share some knowledge and a little bit about myself. Growing up, my childhood was very interesting. I was a really smart kid. I knew that from the beginning, but I realized that I didn't really like education or school growing up. I realize now that the reason why I didn't like education is because it was very restrictive. It wasn't based off of freedom, and I like to have my own freedom, like to do my own thing, which is why I got good grades, but I really didn't enjoy my time at school. So I went to college. I was at UConn. I originally wanted to be a math teacher,
Really?
which, yeah. So I went there for mathematics, but then I realized I didn't like that shit. I didn't like that shit. So I switched my major to become a kinesiology major, which is like exercise science. I wanted to become a bodybuilder, and I wanted to actually help football players in terms of training at that time. But a lot of people actually don't know this about me, but I had like really bad social anxiety. So when I was in college, I had to do an internship. I had so much anxiety at that point, I wasn't able to complete my internship. So I didn't get a job in kinesiology. So at that point, I started working a lot of different odd jobs. One interesting job that I worked was I sold women's shoes for a little time. And I always say, like, if you could sell shoes to women, you could sell anything to anybody. So that's why I've been in sales for most of my life. I got a job at GNC selling supplements. That's how I met our manager at the time. I think it was at that point where I realized, like, I looked at my life and I was like, shit, do I actually want to do this for the rest of my life? And I was like, no, I don't want to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. I want to have my own freedom. And that's when I went down this self-mastery journey and started to go into doing research on a lot of the gurus and a lot of the coaches out there. And that's when I started to get into finance and self-mastery. A lot of people are familiar with Tony Robbins. I was a huge fan of him back in the day, and that's sort of where I went down the rabbit hole. Nowadays, I do have a couple of personal coaches that I work with. I have a coach who is a editor. He's pretty big on YouTube. His name is Vince. Tell his last name, but if you guys look him up, he's very popular. He has a lot of followers. I work with him, and then I also work with my guy Tim, who you are aware with. He is really big on sales, and I figured that would be very helpful for me. But I created my own YouTube channel. It's on personal finance. It's on self-mastery. A lot of things that they teach me, I provide value to them. And that's what I'm doing right now, man.
What made you say, I want to get out this industry of working a 9 to 5? I don't see myself doing it, but it's okay for people to do it. But you have to understand that there's a more bigger picture than that.
Yeah, so one of the big things that I noticed with myself is that I've always been a contrarian. And contrarian just means, for simple explanation, is somebody who always does the opposite of what everybody does. So I've always been that way, especially when I was in school. I never really liked school. I thought that it wasn't beneficial in the things that they taught you, if that makes sense. What they're training you to do is to basically comply, right? And one of my core values is freedom. I want to be able to do what I want to do. When you work a 9 to 5, I'm not saying that it's bad, and I really respect people who have 9 to 5. It's just not for me. It doesn't resonate with the values that I have, and that's why I made the switch to wanting to do my own thing, because it's in alignment with my core values and who I am as a person. And I like freedom. I want to travel. And the best way to do that is to make money from your laptop. There are so many platforms on how you guys can do that nowadays. It's super easy. A lot of people actually think it's difficult to make money online. When the people I talk to, the coaches I have, it's actually super easy because everybody else is lazy, bro. Like, if you really look at what everybody else is doing, they're not putting in the work. And if you just put in more effort than everybody else, you'll be able to get there very quickly and live the life that you want. And that's what I preach on my channel. I always talk about, you have to define the type of lifestyle you want. If you want to travel, you can't travel and have a 9 to 5 because you're locked into a location, right? So you need location independence. And that's why I preach finances, because finances are very important if you want to travel and do all those things. And then I also preach self-mastery, so you can do the things that you need to do in order to live the life of freedom that you want.
So with traveling and like you said, trying to get that freedom of like getting to do what you want, also make money whenever you go.
Hmm.
Um, I know for a fact you've been going to New York a lot. So you've been going to New York and also traveling to different
Yeah.
areas because that's when you get to meet bigger people and you also get
Hmm.
to like hear their story and also even build connections. So can you say that connection is key when you meet other
Hmm.
people, not to really be afraid of like having conversations, see who they are and see if
Hmm.
you have a liking to them because then you'll end up understanding the struggle that they come from
Hmm.
or the situation that they're in or how much they're making or just stuff that you're like, I admire and I want to be just
Hmm.
like this person and he can end up bringing you under your wing. I want to ask you, where do you put your money to? Do you put your money into stocks? Do you put your money in a certain bank to build like revenue? Where would you recommend to tell people, hey, put your money here and this is where you could end up building the most, but
Hmm.
also understand that without sacrifices and actually putting into certain items like stocks, like you put
Hmm.
me onto, you end up making a lot more than you should because you know where your money's going.
So the first thing I will say is that there's levels to this, right? So if you're just starting out, the best place you could put your money is investing it in yourself. So I honestly tell people that if you're not making above 10K, saving money is not beneficial. Actually, saving money, you're losing money. And a lot of people don't realize this is like if you put your money in a savings account, it's losing purchasing power due to inflation and the cost of everything going up. So you might as well invest that money now while everything is still cheaper because you don't know everything could go up again in the future. So if you're saving money, you're actually losing money. So that's why if you're not making a lot of money right now, the best investment that you could do is invest money back into yourself. So what I do is I invest in four things. I invest in things that buy me back my time. I invest in things that improve my skill set and my health. I invest in things like experiences, like traveling, things like that. And I also invest in my people, right? So you want to make sure that your people are good. The more generous that you are, the more people will respect you, the more they will want to help you. And like we were talking about, building connections is actually super key because the more connections that you have, it's the more potential clients that you have, the more potential people who will be willing to help you as mentors. And it's actually one of the most beneficial skills. It's the easiest skill to learn with the highest return on investment, if you think about it. Because if you're building connections with people and that person decides to work with you in the future, like let's say I'm talking with you and you're doing your podcast and then eventually you decide to work with me and like you outsource your editing to me, that is like it's a super beneficial relationship for both of us, right? Because I'm saving you time and money and you're building your business up. So that's why I think building relationships is like one of the easiest things you can do. And all you have to do is just improve your communication and your skill set there. So that's why I always tell people invest money in yourself. Then when you make 10K, right? 10K a month is sort of the benchmark nowadays. And it sounds like a lot of money, but it's not really a lot of money. Then that's when you want to start saving money. That's when you want to push money into stocks. So right now I do invest in stocks. I'm really testing the market to see what I like and what I don't like and building that skill set. And then once I make 10K a month, that's really when I'm gonna start pushing more money into that because again, that's buying back my time because I'm getting paid with dividends. So if that's like the order I would do, like first invest in yourself, then once you hit 10K, put that money in something that's going to buy back your time because we can always make more money, right? But you can't get more time. So anything that buys you back time, even hiring more people that buys back your time. So just start to think a little bit differently. Like I said, I'm a contrarian. I like to think about freedom and I like to think about doing things as the opposite of everybody else. So that's the way I think about finances.
So like you're saying, you put it towards like taking care of yourself. Are you
Mm-hmm.
recommending to kind of get like a speaking coach, an editing coach, or
Mm-hmm.
like any type of coaches that could basically help you hit the marker or the goal that you're trying to go for?
So a lot of people, it's interesting because a lot of people hire personal trainers, right? When
Yeah.
they want to improve their health, they hire a personal trainer as a coach.
Yep.
And I'm like, you could do the same thing for literally everything in your life. When you make a certain amount of money, I actually like to think of life as like a video game.
Yep.
Like it's like Skyrim. When you have enough money, you can level up, your skill set by paying money, and it's the same concept. So if you want to improve your money making skills, hire a coach that's going to help you make money. If you want to improve your communication, like I did, I hired a communication coach. His name is Tim. He helps me with sales. He helps me improve my communication skills. I have an editing coach. I have a personal trainer too as well, who I'm working with online. A lot of people don't know this. He is Greg O'Gallagher with Kinobody. Check him out. He's a really good guy. And the reason why I like him is because it's all in alignment with my lifestyle. He does intermittent fasting. He only works out 3 times a week. And as an entrepreneur, you don't have that much time to work out. So working out 3 times a week, maintaining your physique, and doing intermittent fasting, meaning you're only eating 2 times a day, gives you enough time to invest into other things, just as like building your business, working on your finances, doing editing and all that stuff. So everything's in alignment, man.
Putting money to invest in yourself, like you said. What happened if the person that watching this right now is trying to save up money to pay something off? What would be like, again, you could kind of explain it. Like, what is your assets, the stuff that you have to pay off? Like right now, I'm paying like my house bill, lights, energy, that type of stuff. How can you tell between this is asset versus assets? Probably saying that wrong, but assets. What would you say to a person like that, and how would you help them basically add up to the market they're trying to hit overall on savings to pay the stuff that you have to pay off? Let's say credit card debt, let's say student loans, let's say anything like that. What would you recommend to a student or anybody else that's in that situation of struggling?
Thank you for that question, because this is my specialty right here.
Yes,
this is what my channel is on. It's a weird concept. It's called velocity banking. It's the thing that I tell everybody. It's an up and coming topic. A lot of people don't know of it and they're not familiar with it. But what velocity banking is leveraging debt to pay off debt, right? So a lot of people, like you said, when you're trying to decide if something's an asset or a liability and you're trying to save up money to pay off things, think about how long it would take you to save up $5,000, right? If you're only having an excess cash flow of like $200 a month, it's going to take you about 2 years to save up $5K. But if you go to a bank and your credit score is good, they'll literally loan you $5K in a line of credit instantly like that. So you can leverage that to pay off debt, or you can use it to build assets like you were talking about. And a lot of people don't know about this because they think credit and debt is bad. But again, I'm a contrarian. I like to do things the opposite. I don't like to do what mainstream media tells us, or the matrix as they call it, So I like to go the opposite direction and leverage credit to pay off debt. And that's the quickest way that you can do it, because if you're able to chunk off a big amount, like let's say you get 10K from the bank and you take out 6,000 and just pay off your credit cards, but then you use the amount of money that you're making to pay off the line of credit, you'll pay off debt a lot faster, right? That's why it's called velocity banking, because we're leveraging speed. Everything's about speed nowadays. You look at TikTok, videos are like 6 seconds. Everything's about speed. So that's why I like velocity banking, because it cuts the amount of time that you have to save up money and pay off debt. So that's what I would do to build assets and pay off debt if I was young. So build your credit, get a debt tool, pay off debt, and then don't go into debt ever again. Please. It's one of the worst things you can do, because if you have debt, you become slave to the person that you own the money to, right? Because if you don't pay it off, they could put liens on your property. They could take away shit from you. So just once you get out of debt, please just don't go back into debt. That's the best advice I could give you.
What would be, the best answer to, I got this much in my bank account. I'm not going to touch my credit card for a long time. I'm just going to freeze it. My credit's going to stay normal. It's not going to drop. It's not going to go up. Just leave it alone. How much should I have in my bank account until this day to say, if I have $5,000, I don't want to drop $5,000? What would be the perfect amount overall?
This is an interesting question. I really haven't thought about it deeply, but the best way I could put or answer this is calculate how much you spend on a monthly basis, and you want 12 to 24 months of that. So like, let's say that on a monthly basis, you spend $2,000 a month, right? Okay. So you want 24 months of that saved up. Yep. So I can't do the math. I'm going to guess that's like 48,000. On a basis. So that's like average. Once you have 48,000, then you can begin to leverage your credit cards to do things like real estate investing. A lot of people don't know this too. I was actually a real estate investor and a real estate agent at one point in my life. I've done everything, bro. Like, I literally done everything, but I've also failed at a lot of shit. Yeah. So being a real estate agent was actually an interesting experience, because you learn a lot from people who are actually making a lot of money, and they use other people's money to buy properties, and then they pay that off by refinancing. So there's a lot of ways you can leverage debt, and that's why a lot of people are scared of it, but it's the best way that wealthy people make money, is to leverage debt. Yep. So once you have that 48,000 saved up, then you can start to use debt to acquire properties, and then once you acquire properties, it begins to pay off the debt. And then it's almost like an infinite return, right? That's the point that everybody really wants to get at, is you want that infinite return where you're using debt, but the debt is paying off the debt. So it's an interesting concept, but that's where you want to be.
We're in a topic about credit cards and debt. Do you recommend any type of credit cards that a person should get as like their first ever credit card? What would be the credit card and why?
This is like for my college students, if you're just starting out, the first credit card that you need is a secured credit card. It's probably the only one you're going to get approved for anyway. And a secured credit card is just where you would just put money in the credit card. So like they'll ask for a deposit of about $100 and they'll give you a line of credit. You rarely get unapproved for that. Everybody gets approved for that. So that's where I would start. And then what I would do is I would do 6 months of payments. So you have to show history on it. And then after that 6 months, then that's when the game starts. So you can begin to get other credit cards. I talk about on my channel where you can optimize credit cards for points. So the reason why I travel a lot is because I'm traveling for free. I get free hotel stays, I get free airfare and things like that because of my credit card points. And obviously I don't make enough money to just like be going to hotels and traveling all the weekends. But because I have enough points saved up and enough bonuses from my credit cards, I'm able to travel a little bit more than regular people are. So that's what I would recommend. Get the secured credit card first. Build it up for 6 months, and then the game starts. So if you want a secured credit card, I would definitely recommend Capital One. It is by far one of the best companies. It's simple, it's an online bank, and their process is super easy to use. So I would recommend that, especially for college kids. They're very helpful for college and people who are just starting out in life.
So we're in that topic of deciding which credit card you want to get right in the beginning, and now we're talking about banks. What bank would you recommend that a student should go to, or anybody else that's right now like, I want to look for a certain bank that I'm able to build by revenue, but also safety? What bank would you recommend out of those?
From my experience, all banks are pretty much the same.
Okay.
So what I would recommend is that it's actually more important to build relationships with the bank. So what I mean by that is you want to go into the bank and you want to begin to talk to the people that are there and build relationships with the personal banker. They have somebody called like a banker who you can talk to and sit down with. And once you build that relationship, it's actually easier for them to approve you for credit and loans because they have authority over an algorithm. So if you were to apply online, you basically get put through an algorithm, right? And it's basically based off of numbers. But if you were to build that relationship and go into the bank, they can do away with the algorithm and approve you if they like you. Oh, really? So yeah, a lot of people don't know that because a lot of people think that credit is a strict system, but it's not. The banks want to give people money. That's how they make money. If you think about what a savings account is, they're basically using your money to loan it out to other people, which is called fractional reserve lending. I have a love-hate relationship with banks. I really don't trust them as much because obviously the 2008 crisis. So, I mean, you have to have your money somewhere. You can't just put it in a shoebox underneath your room. Somebody gonna come in your house and
do have that shoebox. Just send me your address. Leave that check in the comment.
Shiesty.
In the middle of an interview.
Yeah, but no, like we were saying, like you don't want to put it in a shoebox because something bad it might happen. Not saying that he would come to your house, but
but just leave it in the comments. Okay?
Yeah. But you yeah, for real. But you don't want to put it there. You want to have it in the bank. But like I said, there's levels. I don't think you want to have it in a savings account because they ain't giving you no money, right? They're lending their money out. They're taking most of the profits and then giving you by like 1%. Okay. So what I would do technically is I would just have a checking account. And if you do want a savings account, that's where you would get the personal line of credit. And I talk about this in my videos. So they'll give you access to, like, let's say $10,000, right? That's going to be your savings account. That way you don't have to save up money. You can use the money to invest in yourself. I know that. Yep. So use that as don't touch it unless you have an emergency, right? Yeah. So a lot of people like to save cash up for an emergency. I'm not a huge fan of that because that's like playing not to lose. I'm a fan of playing to win. So I want to invest money aggressively. I want to put it in stocks. I want to invest it in myself. I don't want to put it in a bank account, just have it sitting there not doing anything. Yeah. So just get a line of credit as your emergency fund and then invest the money in yourself. Then once you start hitting that 10K mark, then consider opening up a savings account. Or I have this concept that I talk about on my channel called infinite banking, where you open up a cash value life insurance policy and they give you actually a higher return than savings accounts. So they give you anywhere between 5% to 12%. Oh, yeah, in a cash value life insurance policy, but you can also access it in terms of loans. So it's a very confusing concept to talk about on just a podcast. I'll have to go really in depth, but if you guys are interested, Google or just search up on YouTube infinite banking concept, and that's where I would put savings money.
So you're basically what you're talking about is no point to open up a savings. Forget that. That doesn't matter. Get a credit line, right? That's what we say. Was it credit line? So credit loan or credit line?
It's a personal line of credit.
Okay, so get a personal line of credit. With that personal line of credit, that's technically your savings account. So then, whenever you need it, you use it, but then you pay it back whenever you can because you won't get interest rate, right? So it's basically like whenever you can pay it back, but at the end of the day, this is your savings. Here's like $100,000. So then you could really just put any money that you want. You can still save it, but keep it on your checkings account, but also use it for yourself to help make yourself more money.
Exactly.
That's freaking cool. Okay. While we're talking about that, how would you recommend somebody to save? Do you believe in that 30-30-20 rule? Do you believe in that like around there? Or is it just like you said before? Is it more like this, open up a credit, like you said, credit, and then that's going to be your savings. Check is going to keep your check-ins. What happens if a person decide like, no, I still want to someone have money saved, but I also need to pay off stuff, and they're what would you call that? Probably spending their money unnecessarily on stuff that they don't need to buy.
Yeah.
I probably said that really fast, but that's
I
probably
got what you mean, bro.
yeah. So would you say like people are wasting their money on stuff that they do not need to buy that end up wasting it, so they're like, I need a savings because then I know I can stare at that and know what I need to do.
I don't want to do a shameless plug, but I would definitely link my channel because I talk about this on my channel a lot, and I'm not a huge fan of budgeting at all. I think that budgeting is super restrictive unless you're making a lot of money. Then it doesn't really matter what you do. But what I would say is that the best thing that you can do with your money is definitely get that personal line of credit and then invest in yourself, right? So that's what I would do. I'm not a huge fan of budgeting. I think budgeting, again, is a tool to keep you average, if that makes sense. So people who are saving money, they're separating all their money away from them. They're putting it in savings accounts, 401k. I'm not a fan of 401k retirement accounts. I don't believe in retirement at all. So like I said, I'm very out there. Yeah. So a lot of people actually resonate with my message because I'm like dropping truth bombs, right? A lot of people in the finance industry don't tell the truth. They want you to put money in their products. They want you to put money in like annuities and all these things that take money away from yourself. But I'm like, you only have one life to live, right? You want to invest all that money into yourself and your people. That's what I always focus on. That's what I talk about on my channel. And you guys should watch a couple of these videos where I talk about budgeting sucks. I'm very out there. My message is not for everybody, but for those people who want to live a life of freedom, that's what I would do. Forget the 50, 30, 20 budget, all that stuff. Unless like you're just making a shit ton of money, then it doesn't matter. The reason why I say that you shouldn't budget is because like we're average income earners, right? Anybody making in between $15 to $25 is an average income earner in America. If you think about the 50, 30, 20, they're talking about 50% of your money used on lifestyle expenses, right? So if you're only bringing home, let's say $3,000 a month, right? And your rent is $1,500. That's half of your paycheck already gone, and you still got to buy food. You got to pay for your car. You got to do all this. You cannot do the 50, 30, 20. It's impossible. So that's why I'm like saying if you get your money up, you could do that. But if not, then you have to be really smart, invest in yourself, get your money up. And then if you want to do that, it's cool. But I would rather invest in myself and my people.
So much like here that I'm like, didn't really know. And then there's also like a lot of stories that you also telling. I'm like, that's fucking really unique. While we're on the topic of talking about still budgeting and savings, is there anything else you would like to add on top of it that you feel like they should hear and you should like talk to them about, like how to make income certain different ways, like different platforms?
Yeah, so this is the biggest key, and I don't think we've ever talked about this, but one of the biggest things that changed my life was realizing that your self-image can hold you back, right? So a lot of us really don't realize the way that we talk to ourselves in our head, right? We limit ourselves, we settle a lot, and we don't get angry. And a lot of the times with the self-development corporations and all those people that talk about self-development, it's always positive messaging and things of that nature. It's always positive. And what I realized is that positivity can only get you so far. If you really want to get shit done, you have to get angry and aggressive, right? You have to tap into, I don't want to necessarily call it like your shadow, but like your dark side. Everybody has a dark side. Everybody has a mask that they put on and they suppress their true nature. The reason why I stopped drinking caffeine too, I don't know if I told you this story, is because I was able to tap into my dark side energy for extra motivation because I can tap into who I truly am and what I truly want, and I can express that. I don't need energy from external sources. Like I get energy from my lifestyle. I get energy from the things that motivate me. And like, if you really sit down and just write out what you want for your life, like the vision that you want for your life, like let's say how much money you want to make, what you want to do, the type of people you want to be around, that gives you enough motivation internally to express it in the real world, if that makes sense. So I would highly recommend 2 things. If you want to make more money, read Psycho-Cybernetics, because it talks about how you can improve your your self-image, right? Because a lot of people, they don't realize this, but they have low self-images of themselves. They cap themselves. They're like, I am someone who can't make money easily, right? They think about that stuff. But if you were to believe that you were somebody who can make money easy, it's actually effortless for you to do the things that you're supposed to do. You don't need caffeine. You don't need these external energy sources, because you believe that you're that person, if that makes sense. So read Psycho-Cybernetics and then create a 90-day action plan to start something, build something. That's the best thing I could do. One of the best platforms you could do is YouTube. It's free. Like, you're starting your own channel. If this blows up, it's free publicity to network with people. I mean, Evan's story was amazing. I enjoyed that podcast. Hopefully people appreciate what I'm talking here. You're going to talk to a whole bunch of different people. Like, everybody has a story and you can learn from that. And as long as you improve your self-image and your self-concept and keep raising your standards, that's like one of the easiest hacks to make money, build businesses, build connections. So I would say change your self-image. Read Psycho-Cybernetics. It'll change your life.
Psycho-Cybernetic. I never heard about that. That's a book. While we're on topic of books, and I actually have just finished writing that down right here until you said one of them. What are the 3 books that you would recommend? And then what are 3 books that you don't recommend? I know we talked about this last time we said each other. I bought one of the books, and then you was like, yeah, that shit is not real. They caught you lacking. And I even did my research, and I was like, okay, I end up spending money on a book that it makes sense, it does help, but then at the end of the day, it's not 100% back up in truth, because you end up playing with me, and I don't buy that. Some stupid shit.
They called him.
They called me. I end up falling in for the Matrix. Yeah, he got money from me, that bastard. While we're on that topic.
3 books. Obviously, Psycho-Cybernetics. That's number 1. Anybody who's trying to improve their self-image and the way they talk to themselves in their head, that's the first book you should read. The second book I would read is $100 Million Offer by Alex Hormozy.
That's amazing.
It's so amazing, especially if you're trying to increase your income. If you're somebody who's a college student, let's say you're a college dropout and you're working at a warehouse, I would read that book, because the quickest way to change your life is to increase your income, right? And the easiest way to do that is sales. So that's why I love that book. And it's going to be one of the things that's going to change my life. Yeah. Honestly, making that offer and increasing your income is the easiest way to improve your life. And then the third book I would recommend is Getting Things Done by David Allen. So I was a huge procrastinator back in the day. A lot of people actually don't even realize this, because they see how hard I work at this job and how organized I am. But back in the day, bro, I was a fucking slack off, bro. I would just sleep in. I would do a whole bunch of just useless tasks. And reading that book actually changed. It was one of the turning points in my life, because it helped me organize the way that I run my life, and it's been very helpful. So those are the 3 books I would recommend everybody start off with. Yeah, you got to make money, you got to organize your shit. And then 3 books I would stay away from is, here it goes. Well, I don't want to put anybody on blast, so I'm just going to be a general category here. So I would stay away from mindset books. And a lot of the self-help industry is a scam, bro. I'm dropping another truth bomb here. The self-help industry is a scam. They are built on marketing and getting people into funnels and upselling people into products. So I would be very weary of the self-help industry. I was telling you about, what's his name? Think and Grow Rich by, yeah. So Think and Grow Rich is one of I didn't want to put anybody's name out there, because it's a very popular book. And don't get me wrong, it's helpful, but it doesn't do anything for you. It's not practical. I like practical things. That's why I recommended those 3 books, because they actually give you protocols that you can use. Mindset books, you cannot measure self-development. You can't measure improvement. It's how do you know if it works? You take a course and you're I feel great. Yeah, it's okay, you feel great, but you didn't make any money. It's you're still in the same position. So that's why just be wary of self-help in general. Do your due diligence and talk to the people that you're working with. So like the people that I work with actually have the life that I want. That's the way you got to measure people. It's like, is he making the type of money I want to make? Does he have the body? Like if you're hiring a bodybuilder coach, does he have the body that you want? If you look at a personal trainer and he's fat, bro, like really, we gonna hire the fat personal trainer? No, you want somebody who has the six pack abs, the broad shoulders, right? You want the physique that they have. So that's the way you do your investigation. Do they have the body I want? Do they have the money I want? And then talk to them before you invest money. Because I have made a ton of mistakes. I invested a lot of money into a real estate investing coach back in the day. A lot of people are familiar with him. Should I just say the book? Are we going? I'm dropping a whole bunch of truth bombs. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. It's one of the biggest scams in the history, his educational trainings. And they're basically just salesmen. They really didn't have a foundation of real estate. That's actually how I got into real estate investing, but they weren't helpful at all. And I invested a lot of money into that, $500 at the time. And it was a 3-day course. Didn't learn anything. They tried to upsell me into a $25,000 training. So like I said, the self-development industry is a scam. So you got to be do your due diligence on who you work with. That's why like the people I work with, they're verified. They don't charge that much money. Like the editing coach I'm working with charges $50 a month. Like that's it's reasonable. It's the way I'm going to make my income in the future. So
So we talk about 3 books that's very good that we recommend 100%. The Game by Alex is phenomenal. I like that one. That's probably like definitely my first book. That overall that will help me about sales, and I'm actually almost done with it. We're talking about that category. We're gonna go ahead and switch it up now. We're gonna say 3 people that you would say to watch and to not watch. And probably was I the Rich Dad Poor Dad probably gonna pop up again for not watching.
probably not.
But 3 things that you recommend people you should watch that will definitely help you change your life, and if you're trying to get into the state of selling and learn how to communicate with people. And then 3 people that you would say like just it's up to you if you want to stay with them. I don't recommend them. Here you go.
Yep. So, damn, I feel like this is going to be a very controversial episode. Because the first name I'm going to say is, okay, so hear me out on this one, right? If you're really trying to learn sales, I would actually listen to Andrew Tate. Now, hear me out on this one. I know he's a very controversial figure, but sales is all about speaking with conviction and speaking with certainty. That's all sales is.
Can you say with confidence?
Yep, with confidence, which is it's all in alignment, right? And when you hear Andrew Tate speak, you get a certain emotion when you listen to him, whether you hate him or you like him. He speaks, and he's an excellent salesman. That's why he was able to shoot up the ranks in terms of YouTube, and everybody wants to follow. Yeah, really fast, bro. And that's why, because he speaks with absolute conviction and certainty, and that's something that my sales coach talks to me about, because I struggle with that at times. I'm a very nice person in general, so it's kind of difficult for me to speak with like absolute conviction and certainty, but that's something that I'm working on. So I would listen to Andrew Tate, one. Alex Hermosi is by far one of the best people anybody can listen to. I would recommend him almost over Andrew Tate. But like if you're really trying to learn tonality and speaking on sales, him first, then Alex Hermosi would be the second. And then the third I would listen to is very difficult, because I do listen to a lot of mid-tier influencers that a lot of people don't know about. One of the ones that I would definitely recommend in terms of just like efficiency is Tim Ferriss. So he has like a podcast and he talks to a lot of people, but I like his stuff mainly just on efficiency, because the quicker you can get things done, the quicker you can get to your goals, basically. So I would recommend those 3 people: Tim Ferriss, Andrew Tate, the top G, and Alex Hermosi. So I recommend those 3 people to stay away from. I don't really want to talk about this topic right now. But again, anybody dealing with like mindsets, or there's a lot of scammers out there. I would recommend, if you, instead of listening to me talk about 3 people, watch CoffeeZilla. I don't know if you're familiar with CoffeeZilla. He's a YouTuber and he exposes people who scam in terms of selling products and that don't work. So instead of listening to me, I don't want to do it. He does it. He does a better job than I can do it. If you want to link CoffeeZilla so for people to stay away from, that's who I would watch to stay away from.
Dodged the bullet right here. I was trying to catch him lacking. We all know that. We all know that Andrew Tate is very controversial. I'm probably saying that wrong. My English is very bad. If there's a speaking coach watching, I really would like to work with you if you're phenomenal at it. But Andrew Tate probably not mentioned. But again, he's very controversial. I'll definitely I like the list that you had. The third guy, I heard of him but never really watched him. I know a lot about Andrew Tate. I know a lot about Alex.
You heard about the 4-Hour Work Week?
No.
That book?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I would recommend reading that. Also, it's like the fourth book. That's
The fourth book?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the fourth book that he recommended to look at. If you could give any advice to somebody that wants to do the exact same career you're doing or wants to be like where you're trying to go to, what would it be and why?
It's actually a really good question because that's what my channel is all about, right? I'm just documenting my journey. I have nothing to sell anybody. I just want to document my path from going from 9 to 5 to living the life of freedom, right? And the biggest thing I would recommend is just to first and foremost, you got to do an audit on your life right now. You got to know how much money you're making. You got to understand where you're at physically, mentally, emotionally, your relationships. And once you do that audit, then you really have to sit down. I recommend sitting down for 1 to 2 days, taking a notebook and writing down the dream lifestyle that you want, right? Let's say that skills, money, and relationships weren't an issue. What would your life look like? If you had your perfect day, and I want you guys to be very vivid with this, in specific detail. I want you if you pick a car, does your car have leather interior? Is it custom design? I want you to get super specific with this stuff. And once you have that, then you can kind of compare where you're at. How big is the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be, right? And then what I would do with that is the first thing that you need to do is you need to get your life in order, right? So a lot of people have a lot of vices. And, I'm guilty of this a lot too. I'll scroll Instagram. I'll do a lot of procrastination, not as much as I used to in the past, but you really got to eliminate all your vices, right? You don't have time. Honestly, I feel like I'm a little behind of where I should be at. So I don't have time to waste. So cutting out all the vices, even alcohol, I recently stopped drinking. I feel like that's made a huge impact in terms of just my productivity. So cut out all devices, alcohol, caffeine, scrolling on the internet, wasting a lot of time, cut that out. And then again, read Psycho-Cybernetics. I can't express how impactful that book is in terms of just improving what you want in your life, setting new standards. Because a lot of us really don't have low standards for what we want in our lives. A lot of us settle a lot of the time. And by reading that book, I realized it's not even that difficult to make 10K. 10K is not even that much money a month. Let's be honest. You got Elon Musk out here making billions of dollars. True. So 10K a month, if you can't do that, then what can you do? So I would read that book first, and then I would hire a coach. That's what I would do in order. It's I would do that lifestyle audit, and then I would define the life that I want. Then I would read Psycho-Cybernetics and then decide what you want to do and then hire a coach in that field. So I decided to do editing because I'm a very analytical person. I really don't even though I work in sales, I don't like the day-to-day sales aspect of just dealing with customers, dealing with all their, bullshit. So I would rather just work on a laptop, do editing, helping people that I actually enjoy working with. I want to work with consultants and coaches because they're the ones that's actually out in the streets helping people, right? So if I can help them with their editing, saving them some time, I'll make some money, they'll make some money. And I would just decide what you wanted to do and hire a coach because that's going to cut your learning curve. So again, just those things. And that's what I would do.
Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. This is Mel McDoom. I'm going to go ahead and give him the last few seconds, how long does he actually need to go ahead and talk about his basically his YouTube name, his Instagram account.
All I want to say though is, Jerry, I appreciate this podcast. This was a very interesting podcast. This might be very controversial, like the Cat Williams podcast with Shannon Sharp. But all I'm doing is just telling the truth as I see it. So that's the only way I can do it. My YouTube page is my name, Malvern McDoom. I would check it out if you guys want to live a life that is different from the normal lives that people live in terms of building your finances and things like that. And then my Instagram is Mal McDoom. On my Instagram, I'm going to post a lot more. I'm going to post a lot more reels and shorts, of just like behind the scenes, me editing, me connecting with people and doing things of that nature. So you can follow me on there. And man, I had fun with this podcast, man. This is gonna be an interesting one. So thank you, Jerry. Man, appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate it. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. I know we probably work here. We work tomorrow, right? Yeah, we're gonna see each other tomorrow. But I really appreciate it. This is actually freaking fun. It's first time, actually my second ever podcast to kind of get used to it and actually writing down notes and trying to figure out, ask deep questions to trying to like have a good conversation. I appreciate it. But again, all right, guys, if you like the video, please like, subscribe, hit the bell below, and I'll go ahead and see you guys every Monday and every Friday. Is always going to be somebody new. Hopefully, he will be back again. So
if I don't get taken out by the Matrix.
If you don't get taken out by the Matrix or some Andrew Tate shit. Again, appreciate you guys. Love you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces.